Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get a motion, please, that we adopt the agenda for the February 15th, 2022 regular meeting of council as presented?
So moved.
Councillor Chouinard will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. We do have Councillor Taylor that is joining us via Zoom this evening. Can I get a motion, please, that the minutes of the February 1st, 2022 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Councillor Pisichny will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. And we do have a public hearing tonight regarding bylaw number 2270, land use bylaw amendment. And we have Ms. Carrie Florazone, Senior Planning Manager, with us to give us an overview. Go ahead, Carrie.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm going to share my presentation here. And hopefully get the right screen. Okay, and I believe you're seeing my presentation?
Yes, we are, Carrie.
Perfect, thank you. So this is for land use bylaw amendment to add clarification for stripping, grading, and excavation to the land use bylaw. There is some missing information in our current bylaw that allows planning and development to adequately address these uses and provide development permits. So we're hoping to just bridge that gap. There have been a lot of inquiries about tree clearing and removing gravel from various lots. And at the current time, issuing development permits for those uses is difficult because they're not a listed use in any district. The bylaw defines excavation, stripping, and grading, provides a clear explanation of when it's required, adds the use to all of the land use districts within our bylaw, and enables us to provide permits for those uses. It is being proposed as a discretionary use in all land use districts, meaning that this bylaw does affect all parcels within town. And that's the long and short of it.
All right, thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Florazone? Councillor Chouinard.
Through the chair to Ms. Florazone. Just a clarification. So the trees, because I've done this in the past, it makes it simpler if you're going to remove trees. So the public's not saying, are you allowed to take the trees down? Is that what the gist of this is? Make it simplified for removing trees?
Trees is part of it, yep. So anything that basically affects the grading of the parcel. So the definition for excavation, stripping, or grading that's proposed is a development without any other development on the same parcel, including but not limited to sand and gravel mining, berming, excavation, trenching, backfilling, recontouring, topsoil stripping, removing trees, or constructions of artificial bodies of water.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? So this is a public hearing, and I don't believe we have any registered speakers this evening for the public hearing. Did we have any other correspondence from the public?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. So with that, I will close the public hearing for bylaw number 2270. Thanks, Ms. Florazone, for your presentation this evening. And we will move on to delegations, the restrictions exemption program and youth activities at the Edson and District Leisure Center. We have Miss Annie Desjardins presenting here this evening. Welcome, Annie. How are you this evening?
Good evening. I'm well, thank you.
All right. Well, we look forward to your presentation tonight. Just a reminder that it is limited to 15 minutes. And we ask that you address all your comments through the chair. Not a debate, but we're here to hear what you have to say this evening. So take it away.
You bet. Thank you. I don't believe I have access to share my screen yet. I don't see up on the tab. Just so I'll check. Yeah, there's no option to share my screen here. I don't know if someone has to give me that access.
Everybody that's a panelist should have access to that. It should be right at the bottom.
At the bottom,
At the bottom.
share screen. Okay, there it is. Got it. Thank you so much. All right. I just want to thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to share tonight. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, esteemed councillors and town management. I am representing a number of individuals from our community with this delegation to council this evening, and there's just some information that we wanted to share with you. So I'm just going to get started here. We are a group of concerned citizens seeking to find common ground and come to a mutual understanding of the many viewpoints represented within the community of Edson regarding the COVID-19 restrictions and mandates instituted by various levels of government. We desire to see an end to the divisive and segregatory practices that have divided our country, province, community, and families. Our goals are simple: to see all civil liberties restored to every citizen and open and honest dialogue restored between citizens and the public servants elected in trust to represent our best interests and provide good government. I would like to share a letter from a gentleman who is a member of our community this evening. And I'm just going to read that to you right now. Mayor Kevin Zahara and town council members, Crystal Beyer, Trevor Bevan, Jean Chouinard, Ed Moore, Greg Pashney, and Peter Taylor. I want to thank you all for your efforts as our elected municipal leaders. Your ongoing dedication and participation in municipal affairs is greatly appreciated. My name is Joseph Dosteler, and I am a resident of Edson, Alberta. I am 25 years old, and I am currently employed in the oil and gas industry in the Edson Yellowhead area. First and foremost, I would like to express I am aware that the federal and provincial laws fall outside of municipal jurisdiction. Nevertheless, regardless of the avenue or circumstance, I believe everyone has the opportunity to make a difference in some manner or form. Accordingly, I think some background information is needed to explain where I am coming from. As a brief summary, I have witnessed the devastating effects of the COVID-19 mandates on family, friends, colleagues, and fellow citizens. I am personally acquainted with nurses, teachers, a paramedic, Canadian postal workers, including my brother, and work colleagues that have essentially lost their jobs because of the mandates. Many others have had to sacrifice their personal convictions simply to remain employed, support their families, and see loved ones in the hospitals. Please note, I do not tell you these things with the expectation that you will be able to fix them. I have already contacted our MLA and MP for such matters, and currently in Alberta, many of the mandates have been lifted, which is something I am very thankful for. However, what has transpired will likely repeat itself again in the future. In this regard, I would like to point out that I am not trying to start a debate on COVID-19 vaccinations. Instead, I am hoping to inspire an open discussion about and willingness to respond to the needs of the community. Before the mandates, I had been attending indoor soccer at the Pine Grove School, which was sponsored by the town of Edson. It was canceled when the mandates were put in place. The organizing members looked into renting a gym, but ultimately didn't do so because they didn't want to discriminate among the vaccinated and unvaccinated. I respect their decision to treat everyone equally, but the whole situation didn't feel right. To cut through a lot of details, we were able to start the Edson basketball group here in Edson. As a group, we decided to pool our group fees to cover the cost of the rapid test so that no one had to be put out of pocket any more than anyone else. The reality is that if we were not united as a group, the people who were unvaccinated would simply not be able to afford to come. The cost of the test plus the money contributed to the rent of the gym. The Edson basketball group would not have been possible without the incredible kindness and efforts of all those involved. I would like to express a special thanks to Lisa Golding, YKCS principal, Melissa Braun, YKCS administrator, Linda Hill, and the entire team at Chillin Services, and each member of the Edson basketball group. There is currently over 40 members in the co-ed basketball group, including youth, which we gladly welcome. We have 2-hour bookings for basketball 3 times a week and soccer once a week. It has been truly amazing to see the support of people for each other during this process and the diversity in our group. One could argue that group sports are not that important, but really they represent so much more than just the sport. The physical and mental well-being resulting from playing sports with friendly and supportive participants is something that cannot be understated. It is so incredible to be part of something that brings people in the community together. I knew it was the right thing to do, but that did not make it the easy thing to do. In an effort to encourage participation by waiving fees for youth and the such like, I personally cover a large portion of the expenses. The past couple of years have been extremely difficult on everyone. I believe that one important factor of that difficulty has been the stress involved with people not being able to interact with one another. As such, I will restate my acknowledgement that the Edson Town Council cannot necessarily change federal and provincial laws. However, I strongly encourage each one of you to do all that you can to support the fellowship and compassion in the community. I feel that the biggest need in the community is to convey that neither the unvaccinated nor the vaccinated are villains. They are our neighbors, our friends, and our family. This addresses something that is far more important than the means by which we achieve an end. A reference point is key to guide us in our endeavors. In all areas of life, especially when faced with dark days, I would like to share the following. Matthew 22, verses 39 to 37. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. The Alberta Municipal Government Act, Section 153, councillors have the following duties: to consider the welfare and interests of the municipality as a whole and to bring council's attention to anything that would promote the welfare or interests of the municipality. I bring this up because we believe that there is a portion of our community that have been marginalized due to the government mandates and restrictions, and that the municipality as a whole has not been fairly represented. Several communities initially declined implementing the REP in municipal buildings, including but not limited to Blackfalds, Drayton Valley, Barrhead, Lac La Biche, High Prairie, Lacombe. Doing so demonstrated a gesture of goodwill by council towards those who were unwilling or unable to provide proof of vaccination. And I've just got some clips here from town websites of those communities. First was Drayton Valley. This is Blackfalds. And here's an article, Barrhead, Lac La Biche, and High Prairie and Lacombe, all of which at some point and to some degree implemented the 1/3 restriction in order to avoid segregatory practices in their communities. Understanding the causes of vaccine hesitancy. There are a variety of reasons one may be hesitant to take the vaccine. To foster better understanding, we would like to share some of these reasons with you. Trust has been declining as where it relates to public trust in government. This article is from Global News, with only 22% saying they trust governments or politicians compared with 40% in the early days of the pandemic. And at the bottom there, to sum up, so the fatigue of the pandemic and anxiety, stress, and division of the pandemic hit hardest on faith in politicians and faith in government. This is something that politicians should all be looking at and thinking about, the importance of how to restore trust in government. This is a chart from the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. As you can see, historically, the adverse events have remained under 5%, right up until the most recent data in 2021, where we can see that adverse events reports have skyrocketed. Personally, I see this as a reason to hesitate, a reason to stop and think, and I think it's a legitimate one. This is from our Canadian government website. We have a calculation here of adverse events reported from the COVID-19 vaccines. And again, I just like to reiterate the reason why I'm sharing this information is to foster understanding. I know through personal conversation that not everyone I talk to is aware of these numbers. And I think it's important in decision-making, and it's important in understanding one another in the community. Total adverse events reported in Canada, thus far 36,857. Total serious events, 7,805. And we have on the health info base, the Canada Government Health Info base, they are tracking adverse events of special interest related to these vaccines. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but just for understanding that some of us have been following these things and they have been a cause of concern. The U.S. National Library of Medicine reported that the thromboinflammatory response toward these vaccines has never been explored as they exploit a completely new technology. Informed consent. Informed consent is guaranteed and required when making these types of decisions for your personal health. And I think that there is some question as to whether or not all of the information available was presented understandably to everybody who was making this decision. And some of us have obviously just a level of discomfort. So I would like to point out, particularly, consent is obtained voluntarily, free of coercion or undue influence, and this has not always been the case. Informed consent is based on accurate representation of the relevant information. So the question is any of this information new to you? And if it is, then the criteria for informed consent may not have been met. The negative effects of COVID-19 restrictions on communities and families and individuals. This is a note I received from a young man in our community. He wanted me to share this with you tonight. To the council, I really hate the vaccine mandates. They are unfair. Sometimes I miss going swimming with friends and bowling. That was one of my favorite things. I miss being able to live. I think the masks don't help people in some ways, especially asthmatic kids like me. Let me be free. Age 8. What is the mental health cost to the young? A study in the Lancet Psychiatry. Primary school age children saw rising problems with emotional behavioral issues, while 83% of young people with mental health needs said the lockdown was making them feel worse. Analysis by researchers at Johns Hopkins University. We find no evidence that lockdowns, school closures, border closures, and limiting gatherings have had a noticeable effect on COVID-19 mortality. Here's an article from the state of New York. The suicide attempt rate has leapt by as much as half among teenage girls during the coronavirus pandemic. And a similar article from Quebec. The number of teen girls who visited Quebec hospital emergency rooms after attempting to take their own lives rose by 23% in 2021. Is segregation bad for your health? This is a National Institute of Health study from the US. One, residential segregation begets individual socioeconomic status, which itself is related to health. Segregation perpetuates and reproduces unhealthy neighborhood environments. Segregation modifies social capital for a city overall or for specific groups within a city. And segregation modifies individual risk behaviors or exposure to stressful stimuli. A new study from Johns Hopkins University. Lockdowns do not work, and their economic, social, educational, and psychological costs far outweigh any health benefits they might bring. While lockdowns had little to no public health benefits, they imposed enormous economic and social costs. Job losses in March and April of 2020 exceeded 22 million and have not yet been fully recovered. Children lost years of educational and social development that will affect them for the rest of their lives. Psychological problems have soared throughout society. It's hard to disagree with the Hopkins researchers' conclusions that lockdown should be rejected as a pandemic policy instrument. And I have another letter from a family in our community that I was asked to share. Mr. Mayor, Town Council members, my name is Diana Komiak, and I'm writing on behalf of my sister-in-law regarding how the implementation of the REP in our town affected her and her family. I'm writing on her behalf because she is finding it too upsetting to write this for herself. She, my brother-in-law, and my nephew moved to Edson in September 2021. As a family, they were very excited to be moving here. They were coming from a small town and they were so happy to have many more amenities. They liked the feeling of the town and were happy about the move. Unfortunately, right after they moved, they got COVID. My sister-in-law had planned to get the vaccine after they settled into their new home, as she had a history of not my sister-in-law had planned to get the vaccine after they settled into their new home, as she has a history of not reacting well to vaccines, but getting COVID changed things. My sister-in-law got very sick with COVID, and right after her isolation time was over, you implemented the REP at the leisure center. She felt devastated because since she had been so sick, getting the vaccine right after was not a good idea. But that meant that she would not be able to watch her son swim without getting rapid tests weekly, which were a cost that was challenging for them after a big move. It meant that her son, brand new to this town and very shy, had to go into a strange facility with no familiar faces to swim. He had been over the moon excited about the opportunity to be on the swim team. But as he couldn't have the support of his mother there with him, his excitement soon faded, and now he doesn't even want to be there. He's 11 and was reluctant to tell his parents how it made him feel because he felt he should be able to handle it on his own. But he is now sharing how hard it was for him. He was scared and anxious having to be there on his own, and it has completely taken the joy out of swimming for him. Their family now feels moving to Edson was a terrible mistake and that there is no sense of community here. It has been heartbreaking to see the change in my nephew due to the mandates. He is not the same boy that moved to this town. I realize, and my sister-in-law realizes, that it's been a challenging time for you as well. You had to make some tough decisions. What she struggles with is that there was no community engagement to discuss the options that were available to you. She saw that other communities did not implement the REP. They figured out a way to have adult programming and not to have the REP for everyone else. She feels that there could have been better communication and a coming together of our community. Instead, the quick decision to implement the REP fractured our community and created an us and them situation where she felt the town was us and she and her family were them. She also felt there was no support for her family. There was no discussion of helping to cover costs for rapid testing or helping to make her son feel safe and supported in the facility. The reason I feel it's important for you to know her story is for you to understand the depth of impact of your decisions had on her and her family, particularly her son. The REP was so hard on our children and their mental health. They are the ones that suffered the most. It was divisive and doesn't appear to have been effective. Mr. Kenny has stated that they may bring the REP back in the future, and I hope that if that happens, that you look at the situation differently. I hope that you communicate with the community and try to find solutions to bring our community back together. Thank you for your time to listen to our story and for your work through these challenging times. Diana Komiak.
All right, thank you, Annie, for your presentation. I gave you a little extra time there to finish off that letter, so.
Okay,
We'll
that's 15 already?
Yeah, you're actually at 16 minutes and 44 seconds, so.
Okay.
Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Desjardins? Can we get Peter on the screen there? I don't see any questions from council, Annie. We did receive your petition yesterday, so administration is going to review that. As per legislation, they have 45 days to review and let council know whether or not it's valid or not. So with that, I thank you for taking the time to present to us this evening.
Thank you for giving me the chance to share.
Thanks, Annie.
Have a great night, everyone.
Have a good night. We will move on to reading of bylaws. Can I get a motion, please, that council give second reading to bylaw number 2270? Councillor Bevan will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? We also discussed this at committee a couple weeks ago. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that third reading of bylaw number 2270 be given? Councillor Byer will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Sounds like we have a little party outside. Can I get a motion, please, that council give first reading to bylaw number 2275? Councillor Chouinard will make that motion, and we have Mr. Assant on the line as well as Mr. Lucas, who will be presenting on this evening.
I will, Mr. Mayor. So this will just be a quick overview of what we went over of Committee of the Whole. And so just to review our proposed bylaw update, 227.
You're muted there, Jason.
I was too excited in my excitement. I forgot to unmute myself. All right. Okay, so I have shared my screen. If you cannot see it, let me know. So our proposed bylaw change, number 2275, is just an overview or is an update of the previous council code of conduct bylaw, and that essentially we went through an environmental scan of many different municipalities, and we also engaged a full legal review. And furthermore, we also consolidated the recommendations from last week's committee of the whole, and that we made these updates to provide this to present bylaw 2275 to council. In concerning the feedback we received at committee of the whole, we ensured that consistent use of the word member to include both mayor and council, and that we also added complainant and respondent definitions. And furthermore, we performed research on council attendance at council orientation post an election. And so our environmental scan yielded the results that many of the municipalities, 13 out of the 14, in fact, strongly encouraged councillors, no matter what their level of experience as council, to attend all council orientation sessions. And so after reflecting on the matter, we proposed that we maintain status quo with council just attending one session of council orientation that is provided, and that there's also other items that we provide for consideration for council's deliberation on the matter, such as value and retraining, team building, and avoiding imposing redundant training on members, and recognizing experience, expertise, and sharing such knowledge with each other. And that the overview of the changes are the significant overhaul is the investigation process and the breaches investigation of the bylaw, and that there are some other updates that we discussed last week. And so now I open the floor to any questions from what proposed changes we made from the committee of the whole meeting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Assad, for your presentation. And since we have Councillor Taylor on the line, do you have any questions, Councillor Taylor? First of all, no. Anybody else? Any questions about this? I think the vast majority of the concerns have been dealt with here. All right, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please? The council gives second reading to bylaw number 2275. Councillor Taylor will make that motion. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion that bylaw number 2275 be placed for third reading? Councillor Pacicci makes that motion. All those in favor? Motion carried. And can I get a motion, please, that third reading be given to bylaw number 2275? Councillor Byron make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Were you in favor, Councillor Bevan?
I put my hand up.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. All right. Reports from administration. We have none. No information items. No sundry items. We will go to council committee reports. Not check. We're going back to. We're going back to February the 2nd, and we will start with Councillor Byer.
Thanks. On February 8th, I attended the committee of the whole meeting, and February 10th and 11th, I attended the strategic planning session virtually, which was not my desired outcome, but it was really great to still be able to be there and hear the information and be able to put input into our strategic plan. I thought it was absolutely fantastically executed. I really like that high level discussion that kept us focused, and we all had the ability to offer some feedback into that. So
thank you, Councillor Byer. Councillor Moore.
Yes, I attended the last committee of the whole meeting, and I was very impressed with the strategic planning session. I think it gave ample opportunity to get all of council and the administration on board, and the moderator was fantastic. You know, I don't think we could have got anybody who would have done a better job. He kept things interesting all the time. There was never any need for more coffee to keep one awake, even though I did drink some coffee. But anyway, it was. I found the process most interesting, and I think it will benefit us in our next in our strategic plans coming up in the next few months, years.
All right, thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Bevan.
On the 8th, committee of the whole meeting. The 2nd was Groundhog Day, so give winter or whatever. Also attended the retreat here. I found it very informative. After attending all the other meetings here, I appreciate CEO Beveridge for stepping out of the box and doing something different for us. She was probably a little jittery on how it was going to go, but it went very well, especially when, you know, I knew the Jackie being there, she remembered me from other places too, so it was very great. I think it's good. I think I'd like to see it do again next year. And now we got 1 year under our belt. We've got a new administration people here too, and that's, I think it's gonna be very well moving forward for the next 4 or 5 years into the future too. It's great. Thank you.
And I learned something at strat planning. You're an excellent bowler.
Try it.
Councillor Taylor.
Members of council, on February 3rd, I attended a finance committee meeting for the Edson Public Library Board. On February 7th, I attended a youth council meeting where the youth are continuing their project on the environment. Somehow I got stuck on the garbage committee. Not sure why that was, but I am excited to do that. I'm looking forward to the other projects, and they should be coming out near the end of April. Some exciting things there. February 8th, I attended the committee of the whole meeting, and the 10th and 11th was strategic planning. And I echo the words of the previous councillors. It was excellent. I think this council was really cohesive of what we wanted to achieve over this term. And I'm excited that as well as our administration's on board. And I look forward to seeing the finalized copy of it, but we're off to a good start. So that's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, through the council, my report's very similar to everybody else's, committee of the whole, and the strategic planning as well. And I'll echo what everybody else is saying. It was a different format for me. I liked it. I liked not leaving with a sore brain. And I like the format of set the targets and administration does all the work and brings it back to us. That's a different way of doing it. I think I like it. So that's all I have to report.
All right, thank you, Councillor Pisichny. Councillor Schnarr.
February 2nd was my Chamber of Commerce meeting. There wasn't a lot to report. The important part is March 16th at 12 noon is the AGM, and it will be a Zoom link unless it changes. So I think moving forward, it's Zoom. February 3rd, we had Synergy. The one that we had updates from TMX and TC Energy. TMX, they'd like to congratulate Midwest Pipeline, all the involvement they've been doing over the last several years being in town with the fundraising and that. So they did recognize them. Towards the middle of May, they'll be scaling down the yard here and moving to closer to Edmonton. So the work's not all complete, but that means there will be less pipeliners in town. The update on TC Energy was they were talking about a Washtub pipeline. They will be also scaling down March. They got most of the pipe in the ground, but they do still have OJ pipeline working close by, and then also Cirrus Murphy. So that was the updates on those ones. And they did mention both pipeliners to congratulate them. They were involved in the community. It was added bonus. Unfortunately, what they usually give us is the reports of what we spent, and there was a glitch in the computer and he couldn't give us the reports. We had committee of the whole meeting on the 8th, and strategic planning. I clearly commented, this moderator, are you worth your money? I said at committee of the whole. I went to Christine. I said, prove me wrong, because it was Christine's idea. I was negative on it, and I have to admit, it was different. Yeah. I have to admit it was different, but it was great. The moderator didn't harp on you, but he was great. We learned a lot, and I have to echo Councillor Pisichny's. I like the way it is. We gave all the work to administration and bring it back, not saying they haven't worked in the past, but it was very interesting. So I applaud you, Christine. You made me a believer because I was a disbeliever. Thank you.
Okay. Wow.
But it hasn't stopped them from talking.
It was my moment to talk. I'm talking.
Can't believe that. Wow.
Oh,
Shocked me this evening.
By next meeting, it's gonna be all different. When they give me the reports, I may retract everything I said.
See, you gotta give things a chance, Councillor Schnarr.
A lot of it.
So for myself, had a couple of meetings with some industry folks over the course of the last 2 weeks. One was with the Canadian Energy Centre, who are going to be profiling Edson, talking about our story of supporting energy and green technologies. Also attended the youth council meeting on the 7th, and youth council got a presentation from Erica Pennings, who's the homelessness worker with the Friendship Center. Lots of great questions. Right now, they're serving about 60 to 75 individuals. She says about three-fifths are male, and the vast majority are over the age of 18. They don't have a lot of youth. Finding that when it comes to youth, most of those folks find other places to get supports, whether that's with friends or family. The youngest client they have right now is 24. So it was a good presentation for the new members of youth council that this was the first chance to hear about that issue. And as was reported, youth council is working on some projects for Earth Day. I'm on the tree planting committee, and Weyerhaeuser is sponsoring and gonna be providing seedlings that our committee will be out handing out in the community. So stay tuned for more details on that. We are looking forward to spreading some Earth Day challenges around the community. And Councillor Moore, what committee are you on?
I'm on the committee. We're looking at ways to make people more aware of plastic bags and such, and different incentives how to basically recycle things and keep things a little greener.
Our committee goals will be putting together an education package that hopefully we'll have available at trade show as well. So great group of kids, and looking forward to that. And then council strategic planning as well. I was thoroughly impressed with our facilitator. I've been through many of these, and usually they are mind-numbing, as Councilor Pisichny said, but this was really enjoyable, fun, and I thought we really came up with a cohesive plan. It was good to do some team building as well. So I do thank administration for their hard work on that, and keeping us focused over the 2 days as well. Councillor Sherrod?
This is through to Councillor Taylor. Did you say you're in charge of the garbage collection? So there is trash, the mayor is in there, I hope?
That's certainly one of the proposals we're looking at. We're just looking at some finance issues, but we'll be reporting more on that, what will happen to his lawn in the future.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, with that, we will move on to financial. Can I get a motion, please, that council accept the 2021 December quarterly report as presented? Councillor Moore will make that motion, and we have General Manager of Corporate Services, Sarah Bittner, with us, as well as Mike Passy, Corporate Services Manager. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the council, presenting the December quarterly financial report. Mr. Passy will be giving a presentation on that. Just before we start, just a caveat on this particular quarterly report. It is at year end. We are still working on that, but we have tried to incorporate all the things that we could foresee coming into this quarterly report. Of course, we haven't been audited yet either, so just that caveat that these figures may change after that has happened. So I'll pass it over to Mr. Passy to go through the report with you.
Good evening. I'll just share my screen here. Okay. So good evening, council, and this is reporting on the quarterly report for the end of the 2021 financial year for the fourth quarter report. So first we'll start off in operating. So given the nature of 2021 with its uncertainties and constantly changing landscape, the final quarterly report shows that we weathered the storm reasonably well. As detailed in the memo and the agenda, we're projecting a year-end surplus of just over $600,000. And while $600,000 may sound like a lot, it falls within a reasonable margin given the size of the overall operating budget, which is $21.7 million. And then just to reiterate what Sarah said, this figure could change just as we go through the year-end process, and once that's finalized and all any outstanding transactions that were missed are then accounted for and taken care of. So of this this surplus, the majority of it comes from unused funds in two areas of the budget, one being salaries, wages, and benefits, and the other being travel and expense. This comes down to mostly that The senior leadership team was not complete until later on in the year. So lots of those salaries were not used. Wages at the leisure center were down. Wages across a lot of the organization were down just due to closures and things and things like that. And then the travel and expenses were down by $135,000 just without being able to go anywhere or be able to lots of conferences that normally would have happened or professional development or educational sessions that would have occurred did not occur or were not attended to. And then the rest of the difference is just made up of the net effect of revenues and expenses across the organization, some being higher, some being lower, just all throughout. So then a few areas that are worth mentioning are first in policing. So the cost of policing was higher than budgeted this year. And this is an increased cost that all municipalities faced. This is not the retroactive payment that has been talked about regarding the RCMP collective bargaining. This is an overall increase. And then also there was a higher than budgeted revenue for the fines, but this was also offset by the share of the revenue that is taken by the province in a corresponding amount. Under engineering, there was quite a bit of the expense that was not spent, but this is due to the engineering design standards that were a project that was going to be done, but it was not begun in 2021. So it is going to roll over into 2022. But this was funded from reserves, so it's funded for 2022 as well already. And then landfill revenue was budgeted lower than was actually received. In planning, the land use bylaw and the offset levy updates, same sort of thing as the engineering design standards, not able to get begun this year, and so they were put off into 2022, so those funds are not spent. In recreation administration, the leisure assist program was not used as much as anticipated, so not as much, not as high of expenses that were used there. Under parks, a main one was the Vision Park rentals were lower than budgeted, and that can be attributed to the fact that user groups were unable to use the facility and use that area to carry out what normally would have occurred in a normal year. Under building maintenance, there is a project of the asset retirement obligation study. This is an accounting standards requirement that is a new requirement that is being required next year. So the requirement has been postponed a couple of times just over COVID, and so the study has been postponed as well. At Griffiths Park, the renovations are still ongoing, and the budget for it is in its entirety in that area. But as the project continues, that amount will decline, and it is also funded from reserve, so it doesn't have any, it's funded again in the coming years as needed. And then finally, the leisure center, due to closures throughout the year, there was a lower than anticipated requirement for the wages and facility maintenance and then parts and supplies to go along with that. So the remaining areas in the organization, like I said before, make up the rest of that, that surplus. They kind of evened out overall, leaving us that surplus of approximately $25,000 of just other things that aren't the salaries, wages, benefits, travel, and expense. And so in the total expenses, if you look at the report we gave you, the financial sheet, total expenses were about 94% of what was budgeted, and the total revenues were 97% of what was budgeted. So it's pretty close to what we were looking on. So that's a good thing there. And so, yeah, you'll notice on the quarterly report that the tax revenue comes in at about 100% received. And so that doesn't mean that 100% of the taxes generated in 2021 were paid, but as an accounting principle, we recognize revenue when it is generated. But we do keep track of the unpaid accounts. So at December 31st, 2021, there was an unpaid balance on taxes of $745,000. And so this includes amounts from current and previous years. And again, this may seem like a high number, but it actually falls in line with historical actuals. In 2020 and 2021, Council approved the extension of the tax deadline at the end of September. And from the graph, we can see the majority of taxes are paid by the deadline, and more are paid by the end of the year as well. And so the outstanding balance at the end of 2021 is lower than either 2020 or 2019. So that's actually quite promising and quite a good outcome, good outlook for what that looks like. So move on to capital. These projects, the following projects here were projects that were completed in 2021. I think that was included in your agenda as well. So all these projects were then able to be completed. And then the following projects were projects that were not completed but will be carried over to 2022. The two at the bottom, the Highway 16, Highway 748 contribution, and the First Ave Highway 748 East connector are projects that are through Alberta Transportation, and they're kind of just on a deferred list until the province says that they're ready to move ahead with their projects. And this would be our part that is required to contribute to that project. So we have that funded and set aside, but it's just kind of whenever the province says that it's time to go, that they'll move ahead. So those were included in the 2022 budget. As if the province calls on them in 2022, then they're good to go. And then these are all the other projects were either in progress or postponed to 2022. And so thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have. However, I may have to defer to Sarah or someone else depending on the question on if it's certain projects, they may know a little more than I do.
All right, thank you, Mr. Passy, for your presentation here today. And I have to say that it was an historic presentation because usually we don't have music in the background. Council, do you have any questions? Councilor Moore.
Yeah, as through the chair to Mike, just kind of a general question. How difficult is it to plan for things in a COVID interruption such as this, where there's a lot of uncertainty, basically?
Through the chair to Councilor Moore, it can be quite difficult, not knowing what to expect, whether facilities will be closed, whether services will be interrupted. Luckily enough, we have a great team of managers and a senior leadership team that are able to. They're also keeping their eye on the ball and keeping aware of what is going on in their areas, and they're able to help focus and make sure that we get the best representation of what we expect to happen.
All right, thank you, Councilor Barr.
Thanks. Through the chair to Mr. Passy. Thank you for the presentation. I certainly appreciate this quarterly report, and I recognize a lot of effort must go into it as well. My question, and I'm very thankful we had a lot of capital projects that were completed. My question is on the capital projects update. I understand why a few of those within the highways were deferred. What I'm concerned about is the ones that just appear to have not started yet, or at least to date, December 31st. And I'm just wondering if we have enough staff to complete the projects that we have, or if things are getting bogged down with additional regulation. I recognize we've had a few emergencies as well, and I'm just kind of looking for some guidance on why some projects weren't started yet.
Mr. Passy, do you want to answer that, or you want Mr. Kittlitz to take that one?
I can answer a little bit of it, but he may have some more answers to it. To the chair, I would just say, I think it's a combination of a lot of those things, and depending on which project, it may be something else, or one more than the other. Yeah, if there's anything else that Mr. Kittlitz would like to add, I'd be happy to hear from him as well.
Thanks. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, mine is sort of pretty much the same. I think there's many variables that are contributing to that. If council's interested, we can certainly provide some specifics on what those are at a later date, but varying degrees of variability. But there's a lot. I mean, I will say this: it's a there's a lot of projects on there, as council's aware, we don't have an ample amount of resources to do them. So. We're working hard.
Thank you. Follow-ups?
Yes, kind of. And comments through the chair to Mr. Kittlitz. So I certainly appreciate that, and I realize that I know in your department specifically, and other departments as well, but regards to the capital projects, that we do have individuals that are giving 110% all the time, and and then we add on emergencies, and then you can't continue to do that. And I'm just wondering if, like, do we have enough staff in that department? Or is it that they don't have enough resources in like equipment wise? I'm just kind of curious of like kind of where those bottlenecks are actually happening.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So great question. I'm gotta be careful how I answer. So obviously, I mean, I think if you ask me point blank, yeah, I mean, we could definitely use more resources when it comes to capital and infrastructure. But I think, you know, some of it is our planning of it. You know, we're working, Mr. Fisher and I, one of our projects this year is to really work out our 5-year capital, 10-year capital plan, make sure it's funded. I think the direction we got from council on strategic planning really helps with that. So I think, you know, obviously I'm fairly new here. Pat's role right now is a new one for Pat as well. So we're trying to stick handle how that looks and going through the growing pains of that. I think in time, and what I mean by that for next budget cycle, hopefully we have some better answers and better understanding for that for you. But yeah, we're challenged. There's no question. There's a lot of work to do.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp.
Yes, through the chair, I don't know who can answer one. We're in Public Works, the 3 vehicles, you got them as deferred. With that lack of, we couldn't get them delivered, we're still gonna buy them, or I'm misreading, could have said deferred. It's the van,
Yeah.
the camera van, the pickup, and the,
Right.
or sorry,
So,
2 vans.
3 years, if you recall, actually, no, we kind of repurposed that. What we ended up doing is we had a van already. And so what we're gonna do is repurpose that van, put the new camera. The camera we already have, I'm pretty sure we already have, Mike, we purchased that already. I'm not
I
sure
think
why
that
that's
was purchased this year.
Sorry?
I think it was purchased
Oh, is
this
that
year.
it? Okay.
Yeah. Is that right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any further questions, comments? Councillor Taylor?
Through the mayor to, and probably the best person is perhaps Mr. Beck, and that's, I saw that not a lot of families, or maybe not as many families, were using the Leisure Assist program. And are there any plans in place to sort of promote the program a little more in the year? Or was it a COVID-related thing in terms of not seeing much usership this past year? I just think this is a great program. We want to ensure that I know a lot of families in town can make use of it. Just wanting to make sure that they know about it and can make use of it.
Go ahead, Mr. Beck.
Through the mayor to council. Again, because it was a year affected by COVID, it's just hard to determine if that's a true reflection of what the program could realize. So it was a 1-year pilot program, and we did discuss about previous council established a 1-year pilot. We would bring back the results for discussion with council at the end of the 1 year, and maybe we'll have some more answers at that time. But again, it's another thing we can just attribute to the unknowns of COVID.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Bart?
Thanks. So through the chair to, I don't know, to administration. In regards to the Griffith Center, I realize this isn't a capital projects update, but it's still being worked on. And there's still 135,000 unspent at the end of the year. Is that just a reflection of supply chain issues, or is there something else?
Through the mayor and council. Yeah, that was another one we're going to bring back to council. We have a bit of a decision to make. We have a grant application in with the Municipal Climate Change Action Center for a much more efficient HVAC system. And we hope that we would get an answer by now. We believe we're somewhere middle in the queue of getting an answer. It's really affecting our project. So the whole thing is stalled while we get this answer. So I guess we're trying to get a straight answer out of them. We understand the provincial budget is before the end of February. We hope maybe to see if their program is topped up and they can give us an answer. We were successful in another grant for accessibility. So with the federal program, but this one's pretty substantial and we'd like to get that one. It's tens of thousands and we didn't want to move forward without knowing. If our design is based on that, so we're at a bit of a standstill until the provincial budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any further questions, comments, or concerns? All right, with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Questions for media and public regarding items from this council meeting? I understand Ms. Tate doesn't have any questions. Mr. Kappas, do you have any questions? All right, seeing nothing from Mark, we have no closed meeting session. Can I get a motion for adjournment? Councilor Pacicci makes that motion. All those in favor?
I'm opposed. His hand, it looks fast as mine.
Motion carried unanimously.
Give him
Thank you,
time to
everyone.
turn his head to see.